I hope everybody's doing good today. My name is KG. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to the live stream. Vincent made a post about the B4 here, talking about it is gaining HDMI 2.1 on all 4 ports, which we've talked about already at CES. But what we didn't know, because it wasn't at CES, is the B4 has this semi-gloss screen coating, and he says that it causes the picture to lose a little bit of luster in the presence of ambient light. So it's also got a magenta hue when hit by light. So this is all words directly from Vincent of HDTVTest. And so let's take a look at this a little bit closer. So we can see here, this is what it looks like. And of course, it does have a new stand. We've kind of talked about that already. But what we didn't know is that it was going to be this semi-gloss coating. It's also got a different processor. Now it's the A8 processor, which we already did talk about that. But I think the biggest news with the B4 is the fact that it does have this coating. It's like, it doesn't look great, but you have to remember that there's a lot of lights going on right now with this setup that they had. So you're definitely going to get a bunch of light reflections. But it's interesting the type of reflections that it's doing, you know. Classy, you saw this probably up close and personal. What was your takeaway from it? Was it a deal killer for you? Was it something like, yeah, this is absolutely terrible? Compared to the semi-gloss coating on, say, like the A80L, for example, or, you know, just Sony's semi-gloss OLED coatings that they use. What is your takeaway? Is it similar to that, or is it worse than that? If you're still here in chat. High Def says, thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Yeah, no problem, man. No problem. See, is Classy in chat still? I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of this coating personally. I don't know who's really like making the decision to get the B4 over, say, like an S90C, for example, right now, or even like a C4 if they absolutely don't want a Samsung, or a C3, I guess, or A80L. No Wi-Fi 7 either. Wi-Fi 7? Is that a thing? I didn't know that. Yeah, no 144 hertz as well. Aren't the B series and C series pretty close in price again? I don't think we know the pricing for the B series yet. So I was talking to High Def, and he was speculating that I keep looking at this camera, even though it's this camera. I was talking to High Def, and he was speculating that it's gonna be the new A series, pretty much. But it is 120 hertz, so you gotta remember that. I don't think it's gonna be like that far of a downgrade. I just think that it's using kind of like not their budget processor, but the A8 is going into a lot of their kind of like mid-range, like when you start to get into mid-range. I don't even know how to classify it there, but yeah, it's pretty interesting. So, and those, you know, the stand is something to. Oh goodness, we're really zooming in now. Okay, so there you go. That is the LG B4. All right, so we can look at Vincent's. No, not the bees, Vincent. Please don't post bees. So one of the things that he did also find out is that the QNED 90 is a VA panel. Let me know in chat. Are you guys interested in the QNED 90? This is something that I will be picking up for the channel to review. I definitely need to like see the TV to really be able to talk about it. And I don't feel great about, being able to talk about like the differences between like the QNED 90 and say like the QN90D. So if I get the QN90D, of course I need to get the QNED 90 in order to really give you a fair recommendation. Because I know some of you guys still do want mini LED. And so I have made the decision that, yeah, I'm going to pick up the QNED 90. And I like the fact that it might be VA panel, right? They said that this could actually be a panel lottery. LG wasn't wanting to guarantee it to Vincent. That's going to be the case in every screen size and every region. So it's probably going to be a panel lottery situation, a region-based situation. But, when we're looking at this kind of information and we're trying to decide, like, is this good or bad? I think for consumers, this is a good thing because the QN90D is likely using a IPS or ADS panel, sorry, which is, from the IPS family. A lot of people don't like ADS. I personally don't mind it. I think that ADS looks really good. It allows you to not use a anti-glare, not an anti-glare. It allows you to not use a a viewing angle enhancement filter. So I think they call it an ultra wide viewing angle filter, and it allows you to not use that. So having ADS panels is not a bad thing because you get to not have to have a filter like that on your TV, which does kind of hurt contrast. It really can hurt contrast. So um, that is one of the things that I look at and I think about is some people do love VA. And so this gives you a VA option potentially. And so I'm going to have to check that out myself and see if the US version is actually going to be getting a VA panel after all. Um, see what I have up on chat, huh? Okay. Let's see. LG LEDs never get reviewed. LG doesn't have LEDs that often. Like last year, they kind of really didn't have an LED TV. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was all pretty much just refreshes, like across the board. I don't think they had a 2023 LED TV. Maybe they had an entry level one, but as far as I know, they didn't have any mini LEDs. I haven't had mini LEDs for a little bit. And then they had the QNED 85 2 years ago, which was pretty much like a stripped down version of the QNED 90. And one thing that I could do is also I will, be able to put it up against the Hisense U8K, for example. I'll be able to do that. And then I'll also be able to put it up against the Q90T, the original Q90T, because this one's called the QNED 90T, right? And that's going to confuse people, but I could put it up against the Samsung Q90T, the TV that started my channel. That would be a fun one to do, especially since they're so similar in naming. And see how far along, like, LED TVs have come since then. And then I can also compare it to OLED TV, of course. So there's a lot that I could do with the QNED 90, and so that's why I'm gonna grab it. I'm trying to grab more TVs than I've ever done before. Let's see. All right, what other information came out from this LG event? Let's click on it and see. So he's talking about the Dolby Vision filmmaker mode. I don't think this is that big of a deal, but it's there for you, and maybe it is a good thing because it will hold them to a certain standard. I don't know. I guess it's a wait and see kind of thing. The dynamic tone mapping options on and off, and then a separate option for tone mapping. You can just turn on professional, and like I talked about earlier, do some adjustments there. HDR tone map roll off for 1000, 4000, and 10,000 nit mastering. And like Classy said earlier, it's a feature that was only available through external software such as Calman. And then we got Vincent posting the game optimizer screen here, showing that you can engage 144 hertz mode for PC. And then he also talked about you can turn off ALLM to utilize BFI motion interpolation, BFI or motion interpolation when playing games. And then the back of the C4 has a textured finish, this was kind of interesting to me. That almost looked like leather the way he captured it, but I don't know. Guess we'll find out. Yeah, so that was pretty much it. Nothing groundbreaking other than that, but the G4 is now looking very promising to me because the whole change to game mode, for example, that is nice to be able to get more game mode brightness. That is a really great thing. So I think Classy did a short. We can pull that up. I'm sure you won't mind me pulling up a short. I don't know how loud this is going to be. So that's really good news. I don't know if you guys even heard the audio, but he's pretty much just saying, like, based on his testing that he did there, he now feels that the color brightness is the same between filmmaker mode and game mode. So that's good. That's a really good thing. Let's see if we got any more information here. This is my burner account, by the way. Don't follow my burner account. You can follow me though. I do post things from time to time. So I think that's pretty much it for the LG stuff. We can chat and see what else is going on. And I also want to go through some deals that are available right now, because that's always fun to do a rundown on that. But yeah, so there's that. So you can also follow me. I do post on X. So if you guys are on X, Follow me, follow Classy, follow High Def News, follow FOMO. We're all on there. So Brian's on there, B the installer's on there. So yeah, make sure you guys follow us if you are on X, because we post all the time. And so, and one of the things I posted today was talking about the 2024 Samsung TVs. I posted this in my community chat as well. If you're buying a 2024 Samsung TV at launch, then you should do this link right here, because you will be able to save $100 on your purchase. Only if you're going to be buying at launch, though, of course. If you're not buying at launch, completely ignore that. Let's see what else we got here. I think that's it for Twitter. We'll go back into that screen in a second while we try to browse some deals maybe. And I will be reading some questions in chat as well. I don't know if I'll be able to get to all of them, but I'll try. So if you have any TV questions, now's the time to do it. That guy still popped up there talking about the Reddit. That's funny. Jay is asking G4 or A95L for overall picture quality. What do you think? I mean, that's going to be an interesting conversation to have, right? I think that's going to be the biggest question for a lot of people, is like, is this going to be the TV that knocks off the A95L? And it's too early to say. Leo, um, I know you're interested in the QN900D, man. This is something that probably not too long. You won't have to wait too long. I don't know, though. We'll see. As a owner of the QD OLED in one bedroom and a Sony W OLED in another and a Neo QLED in the living room, I can't wait to see this year's shootout. I will either go MLA or QD OLED for my new living room TV. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, you own everything. I own everything too. Well, not everything, but like I do own like a QD OLED, a W OLED, and a mini LED TV. So I think that's a good way to do it. My hair is like bugging me. Let's see. Asaf was asking, do you prefer Sony OLED or LG OLED in terms of overall picture quality? For me, it's not really close right now. The G4 might change that, but I do think that the Sony has just a much better overall image quality than the LG OLEDs right now. And that just comes down to processing, picture processing in general. In my opinion, it's better. So that's why I give the edge to Sony. So it'll be interesting though. The G4 does look very promising, and hoping that the processing is going to be very comparable to Sony. At least just not like a step down, because like when you look at processing right now with LG and Sony, there is a step down. So I'm hoping that changes. So we got 125 people watching right now. I appreciate you guys for watching. If you guys are enjoying this stream, please do hit the like button. It helps out the channel a lot and helps spread this video out to more people. So thank you guys so much for doing that. Yeah, and if you guys have questions, leave them in the chat right now, and I'll make sure I try to get to them as fast as I can. And of course, if you wanted to leave a super chat, that's always greatly appreciated as well, as that does support the channel and it will get your question answered faster. Though don't let that be an incentive, because I'll answer a question regardless on if you do a super chat or not. JM says, I thought about getting a mini LED, but then I heard they're not good in a pitch dark room on low brightness. Yeah, I mean, it depends on what your tolerance level is. You're going to definitely get blooming no matter what, and haloing. It's going to happen on really challenging scenes. But it still does look really good. You're not gonna get the same contrast as an OLED though, no matter what. Um, but the blacks aren't bad. Like that's not the problem. It's the problem is the fact that it is controlled still by, a backlight system that's not self-emissive. That's the biggest issue is like you can't compete in that area. But it still is a really great TV. What if you are in a pitch dark room though, I ask you why you don't want to get a OLED because that's just the perfect situation for a pitch dark room. There's really if you thought of like a perfect use case, a pitch dark room is the perfect situation for an OLED TV. So I would definitely switch that to OLED. Hey, I'm back. I can call in, and if you send a link, I can try. Yeah, I've never done this before. So I've never done like the invites on this, but I'm let me see if I can figure it out. No promises. Let me see. Let's see. How do I do this? Okay, gonna be quiet for just a second. I might not talk as much. What's this do? Oh, nope, that's not right. That's not right. That's FaceTime. Uh, I didn't know I could even do FaceTime. That's interesting though. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know how to add people. FOMO, if you got any tips on how to add on Ecamm really fast, um, let me know. G4 does have an updated motion feature. It's like, can you go in depth about that a little bit more? It's interesting. Instant Vamps says interesting year it seems for people that want new TVs. At least if I want a 83-inch and mini LED upgrades. Yeah, it's not a bad year. It's really not a bad year at all. There's gonna be some pretty good TVs. For a lot of people though, it's gonna be smarter to buy last year's TVs, especially when it comes down to these newer TVs right now. Like if you're buying right now, it's probably a better deal to get a 2023 TV in the long run. There's a guest button. Okay. All right. Guest button. Let me look for it real quick. There's a widget, countdown, shape, camera, group, aux. Huh. Is it a widget? No. Why can't I find? Oh, I see it. I think interview. Is that what it is? Is that what it is? The interview thing? Okay, I think I found it. Um, so real quick, let me post this in here. I hope you guys can't see that. um, there we go. And I'm gonna send you the link right now, Classy. We're gonna test this out live. That's what these early streams are for anyway. It's for making sure things work. And I don't know if the audio is gonna be bad or not or what. So apologies on this if I don't do this right because this is the first time I've ever done this feature. All right. So I think I got that set up. Raw Top Shot says best budget 40-inch to 43-inch 4K 120 hertz PC monitor for use. I would just say probably. Oh my gosh, that would scare me. I would say 4K 120 hertz. I would say definitely like a LG C3 or a C4. Okay. In green room solo, add left. Oh, there you are. Hey, how do I make you
Hey, can
smaller?
you hear me?
Yeah,
Does it sound bad?
sounds pretty bad, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I can turn you down a little
Uh,
bit. I don't know if you're too loud or not. Okay. I gotta figure out how to make this smaller.
don't worry about my camera. Just leave me off. I'll just be on voice. I don't even
Oh,
know how to disable it.
can I still hear you? Nope. Wait, yes.
Hello?
I hear you.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Whoa, I'm on my FaceTime cam. I don't want that. It's all like the stream just got all bad. It's like, whoa. Okay. Sorry for that. That's troubleshooting. I've never done this before. All right. So what's up?
Just ask away questions on the G4. Yeah, so the one I saw a question asking about motion. Basically, what they did is the cinematic movement, like the first step in the three options for the preset motion settings.
Yeah.
They made that one where it will adapt its how aggressive it is based on like camera movement and what it detects in the scene. So
Okay.
like the faster the camera is, swinging around or whatever, the more aggressive the interpolation is going to be. But then when the camera's slower or there's people talking or whatever, then it'll be less interpolation.
Okay. So it's kind of similar to like what was on the A95L.
On the what?
On the A95L, is it similar to that? How they had like all those options?
No,
No?
no other TV I know of does that where it adapts and changes the interpolation based on the camera movement.
Oh, okay.
It's basically copying what TrueCut does.
Oh, wow. That's huge.
So yeah, I mean, not really a thing for me, but for people who like that, I mean.
Right. And so that's like if the frame rate ever changed in a movie or something like that?
So like it's like if the camera is just moving steadily or sitting there and people are talking or whatever, there's very little interpolation. So very little soap opera effect, if any. And
Yeah.
then if it's like panning across a mountain scene in the background or whatever, then it's going to kick up the interpolation higher so that there's less judder as it's moving across.
Right. Okay. That's cool. It's always nice to have like features that, are new. Any other new features that you've noticed that weren't talked about?
Um, they went through the whole WebOS thing, showing all the updates to that. That's not really my thing because I usually turn that off. But one of the cool things about it is if you are someone who's going to use the built-in apps, as far as I know, it's the only one that lets you disable all the ads.
Yeah.
So there's no ads. Um, but I'm trying to think if I forget if Samsung disable ads. I don't think that was one of the things they were talking about.
Yeah.
Um, and then I hooked my computer, my laptop up to it, and no problem with 144 hertz G-Sync, HDR, like all that just worked. Uh,
That's good.
I played a bit of Destiny 2 and The Witcher 3. And The Witcher 3, if you go into like the HDR setup screen, there's some like really bright red sparks. So that was a good spot to test the color luminance and switching from game to filmmaker. With game in HGIG, filmmaker, I set the tone mapping to professional 100 so that it would as closely as possible mimic HGIG,
Hmm.
and no difference in the color at all.
Oh wow, that's good. Yeah, yeah. We were talking about that earlier, and I think like that is probably the biggest change that a lot of gamers were hoping for. So that's good news. I'm
Yeah,
glad that's happening.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and it's like, even going back to the G2, it wasn't just the G3. The
Right.
G3 just
Yeah.
brought such a big improvement in luminance that it was far more noticeable. But like the G2 color luminance was lower in game mode. Like it's just been a thing that they did on purpose.
Yeah, that's really great to hear. So we don't know if that's going to be the case on the C4 or do we?
Um, I'm trying to think if I ever checked if the C series even was restricted, but that's something I'll test more later.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially because the C4 is going to be a pretty decent bump in brightness. I mean, not I'm thinking the C4 is going to basically be like G2 level brightness.
Okay. Yeah, I remember reading reports saying that it was going to be close to the S90C. I thought that was kind of far off, but G2 sounds more realistic.
No, I mean depending on the G2, some of them were 900 nits, some of them were 1,000, so
Yeah.
somewhere in that range.
Yeah, no, that would be good. So do we notice anything that you can go into the submenus? Like last year, they had the expression enhancer, for example. Did they have anything new this year within like the
Expression
processing?
enhancer is still there.
Right.
The new thing really is that tone mapping control, which so I was explaining this on my little stream I did yesterday.
Uh,
So in Mad Max, when they drive into that storm, where it's like really bright white flashes, lightning and stuff.
Yeah.
So in that scene, there's a part where the camera, like you see the side of what's his name, something Holt. You see the side of his face, the car window, and then out in the distance, the lightning strikes. Everything like turns white or flashes white. I managed to pause exactly on that, and on a TV that can't tone map that high, the window, like the car window, is just pure white. You won't see anything. But using that slider, if you turn it down, you get more detail, and then it has more aggressive tone mapping. You can actually see his face is fully reflected in that window.
Wow. That's really cool.
But then if you turn it up, then you see the face fades away and it turns to white. So you can just set it like if you want a mild amount of detail but more brightness, then you can put it on like say a 7 out of 10.
Hmm.
If you want more detail with less brightness, you could put on a 3 out of 10. It's just kind of up to you.
Just depends on like how much you value your highlight detail then, huh? Like
Yeah, because I
versus
mean
the clipping.
tone mapping is kind of subjective in like, do you want it to be brighter and clip the detail, or do you want to see the detail not be as bright? So this just gives you easy access to change it, whenever you want to.
Right, and that's like when we're doing comparisons, say a Samsung um HDR TV versus like a Sony HDR TV. They all do the tone mapping differently. And then there would be a scene where like Sony has brighter highlights, so to speak, right? Just because it's clipping and it appears that
Yeah,
way. It's more subjective, like you said, in that sense. And then the Samsung would be doing a different thing with the highlights where it was actually retaining more highlight detail. So you're saying now you
yeah.
have
So Sony's
control
gonna
over that.
clip everything above 2500, so 895L, and other Sonys, they're always around like just over 2000 nits. Like anything higher than that, they clip.
Okay.
Samsung usually is about 4000. So with the LG, even if you turned off the tone mapping professional thing, you just have it off. Just by default, it'll show detail up to 10,000 nits. Um, that's just the way that they tune their factory tone mapping setting. But
Yeah.
again, you can change that if you want to. So it just gives a lot more flexibility and control.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Hey, chat, comment if you can hear Classy. I just want to make sure. Like, I haven't heard anybody like type anything, so I hope they can hear you. Maybe they're just like tuned into you. I haven't seen any chat pop up about this. So if you guys have any questions that Classy can answer, I mean, remember he was at the event, so he got hands on with all these TVs. I'm gonna ask you about the QNED 90. I know you don't really like mini LED, so
Okay.
like use that
I
like
mean, it's
as it is. I know it's a mini LED, so it's not gonna be an
yeah,
OLED, right? Like improvements from the
yeah. Let me
QNED
let me
85.
set you up with what I saw.
Okay.
Let me set you up with what I saw, how it was presented. So the room, is a square room, and so you have a demonstration up front where people are talking. There's the main, display setup of the four TVs, the G3, G4, A95L, S95C in the back of the room. The left and the right side of the room have these other demo setups. So you turn your chairs to the right, and they're showing the C4 next to the S90C to show differences in reflection handling with lights hitting the screen and so on. And then so we go straight from that to the QNED 90 sitting by itself a few feet to the right of that, with a quick little demonstration of it. But you're literally going from two OLEDs right next to it to now an LCD that the contrast difference is just immense, especially if you're off angle, like the amount of blooming. They're clicking buttons on the player, so there's menus on screen, and just half the screen lights up blooming. It's just, you know, it,
Yeah. I
it's
know.
very hard for at least for me. This is like why I really am not going to really be doing LCD reviews going forward. Maybe some like the QN90D I'll probably do. Any of the highest end ones maybe, but like it's just so hard because if it's the same price or as any OLED really, I'm just going to recommend people get an OLED.
Right. And yeah, that's the
Um,
toughest thing, right? But you know there is going to be a crowd of people that only want mini LED for whatever reason.
yeah,
Um,
but I just feel like those people should just be educated on why they shouldn't.
exactly. Yeah, that's true.
The the DSE was very apparent. Um, and again, it's like if I remember going back to 2021, I think it was 2020. Pretty sure it was 2021. The first QNED 90, crap loads of zones in the thousands. So if I forget if it was like 1800 or whatever at 65 inches, mini LED, but it had really 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 bad off angle viewing and blooming when you're off angle. Then the 85 comes out the next year, only 180 zones, and fix that. And that was an improvement. Great. Uh,
Yeah.
Sitting off angle of this 90, again, it's the same thing. Off angle,
Yeah.
blooming. I guess they switched to VA now. I didn't even check, myself, but that's like again, I just
Right.
if I get one to review, I'll review it, but I don't think I will.
Yeah, and so what was said about that was the event in the UK, Vincent checked the panel and it was VA, but they wouldn't specify if it was going to be like region specific. And I know for a fact like they do real
Yeah,
like big changes on the region specific model for that 90 series specifically because it has a different stand and everything, right? Um and so the could have been that you saw ADS panel. So we don't know exactly what you
it
saw.
doesn't matter.
Right.
Either way,
Right.
it's just what I
But I just
saw
wanted to
didn't
clarify that
interest me. It
for chat.
has, not the heaviest anti-glare, but there's definitely a coating filter, whatever, on the screen.
Okay.
Gives that hazy fuzziness look. Uh, you know, that's the only thing that like really stood out for the QN90C last year is it being ADS with no filter, nothing on the screen, being pure glossy and clean. That's what gives it a chance
Right.
to be recommendable. And like the X95L, it had the rainbow thing, but it was almost really glossy.
Mhm.
So like those kind of LCDs, they have a chance. But once you start putting layers and filters and stuff on the screen, it just ruins them.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So you did say it does have some sort of anti-reflection and
Anti-glare,
anti
yeah.
does it seem like the viewing angles were good on it?
It doesn't matter if the color is preserved with the viewing angle because the blooming was so bad off angle.
Right, but if the
Like
color's
literally, like
preserved, then
a
we kind
little
of know what
menu would
sort of panel
bloom
it
up,
might be.
5 times its size.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's kind of my thing with LED TVs is like I can't recommend them for off angle at all because of that reason. And so when I have a conversation with somebody and they're like, "Well, I'm going to be sitting in the corner of the room." Sometimes I have guests in the corner. They're not going to have a great experience with a mini LED TV in a dark room. It's going to be haloing and blooming all over the place. Because it's more
I
apparent
mean,
at
it's like
off
even if
angle.
lights are on, the contrast difference is just too noticeable. So
Yeah.
again, I'm not trying to be down on it. I just feel like if you're gonna buy an LCD, buy something like a U7K, that's affordable and decent because there's not that much of a difference going up from there for a lot more money. unless you go to OLED.
Right. And then even at that point, like if you go U7K, it's only $100 more to go U8K, and then it's only $100 more to go to OLED almost. And it's like you're always fighting with that battle. I'm gonna do a
Now, depending on the
U8K.
size, from what I've seen, the U7K was a good, decent amount less than the U8K. But it's like once you cross 1,200
Mm,
bucks, it's buy an OLED. And if
yeah,
you're,
I
unless
would
you're
agree with
like
that.
at the 100-inch size, if you really want that 100-inch size, and you only want to spend 2 or 3 grand, okay, then that's where they should be. So, maybe the 98-inch QNED 89T, if the price on that ends up being reasonable, that's something to look at. But again, anything up to even 85, like I would just recommend people get a 77 or 83 OLED instead of an 85-inch LCD.
Yeah. So that QNED 89T, I believe, is edge lit or direct lit. It's direct
No,
lit.
all of them have local dimming. That's what they said.
Right. They
So
have
whatever it
local.
says on their website, whatever it says on the website,
Yeah.
ignore it. That's marketing. They
No.
said they all had local dimming. Well, certainly the 85 and up. I'm pretty sure they said the 82. But
So they have local dimming like as a feature, but it's still
that's what
edge
was said.
technology. No, I know, but it says it on the website as well.
Hey, again,
So it's
whatever
going
is
to
on
be
the
something
website,
we
I
have to
don't
check
think
out, I
it's
think.
final. Yeah.
Yeah, because
The 85, so from what the one person said, the 85 previous, the 180 zone one that was mini LED, became the new 90T.
okay.
Based on the literal block of, like, you could see little, it looked like little Legos put together of blooming on it. Um, I would say that there's definitely more zones, but I don't know if it's the thousands that it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a 65-inch, and I would say from what you could tell of those blocks of blooming, they were approximately 1-inch squares, somewhere in that range.
Right. So the reason why I bring this up though is because last year the QNED 80, that's edge lit, but that also had local dimming. So um it's just something that they're showing on their TVs. It's similar to how Samsung did with the Q7 FN. I have that TV.
I mean, like going
It's
back
a
to the
edge lit
KS
TV.
8000, where it's the just like 4 pillars of lighting.
Yeah, something like that. It's more it's what they call where they control it with the processing. They control the dimming with the processing. It's not actually like using hardware to do the local dimming. You know what I mean? So it doesn't really have backlight control in that sense. It's more so relying on the processing. And that's what I suspect is going on with the QNED 85. I think I lost you. Or no, you're okay. You're muted them. So,
I'm here. I just started playing again in the background, so I was hearing you twice.
oh, okay. Now you're good. So yeah, that's why I believe it's that. I mean, it seems on par with last year's model. So, um, I'll certainly check one out and see in store. Global dimming. There we go. That's what it's called. That's what Samsung's name was for it, I believe. And so that's what I suspect is going on with that. And I think mini LED QNED 90T and then the 99T is the only mini LED this year.
There hasn't been any mention of the 99. I don't know why, but
Yeah,
they haven't said a thing.
it's pretty interesting. I wonder if they're just gonna skip
So it
it.
might be another
Yeah,
one that they don't release.
true. Last year the B series released really late. I know that. I know that they didn't say anything at launch about the B series, but it's interesting that they actually had it there at the event. So did they have it at yours?
What?
The B.
The B?
Yeah.
No.
They didn't have the B there?
No.
Okay, so that's interesting. Um that's something to wonder about, I guess. Cuz they didn't announce the B here in the US yet. So I wonder what their strategy is with that. So, I guess we'll find out. So, let's see if there's anything in chat asking Classy some questions. Surprised that like there's not a lot of questions that are just thrown your way here. Like I said, you're like the only one Among Us that went.
I
So
think it's pretty easy to tell what it's going to be, though. I mean, it's basically you take the G3, you round off the rough edges that it had, because the G3 was the revolutionary update. Now
mhm.
it's just evolutionary update of, just it's basically the G2 to what the G2 was from the G1, or previously. Like it brings improvements, but it's not a world of difference. But it's a lot of like quality of life improvements and fixes.
Right.
And then you know there there is basically around 2000 nit highlights, but only small window, and like visually that's really hard to tell difference with the 15 to 1700 that we were getting this year with small highlights on some TVs or whatever. So like it's not, it definitely was brighter, but it wasn't a big year for a brightness increase, which is fine because like I think we're more than bright enough at this point. um, and I just want the focus to be more on fixing color issues, fixing near black. And that's one thing I will say, that of the G3, G4, A95L, S95C that was there, I would say the G4 handled the near black out of the box the best. All the TVs were out of the box, but they were in filmmaker, professional, dynamic tone mapping turned off, and so on.
Yeah. So
That's the other thing. Dynamic tone mapping is off by default in filmmaker.
interesting. Yeah, I saw that. That's a good change because that was one of the changes I know you didn't like in the past, or one of the things you didn't like in the
Yeah,
past. So what I'm looking at this article from Steve May from the UK, and he was talking about there's this new thing called object enhancing by visual perception. Do you know anything about that?
that's the AI stuff.
Okay, because yeah, it says
So
AI
that's if you put on
identifies.
AI Pro.
Okay.
So, yeah, you put on the AI Picture Pro or whatever, and basically what it does is it's like, oh, this looks like an object that should be more saturated or brighter or whatever, so we're going to do that. That's a you know, they said that like 60% of people leave the AI Picture Pro on, and they use standard, vivid, whatever mode.
Hmm.
Um, so that's kind of like who it's for, is those people.
Right.
Um, and
So does it alter the
obviously,
actual image, like in terms of the white balance and things like that?
yeah.
Oh, it
Yeah, so
does.
it's like if
Okay.
you are someone who just it happens to be in standard mode, which is more blue, and it
Gotcha.
detects through color theory that this scene, with a sunset should be a warmer color tone, then it will change it even though you're in standard mode.
Okay. Yeah, see, I thought it was going to be something more like reality creation because it said it was referencing them to a database and applying the appropriate picture
No, it's
processing.
more. Well, that's see, it's encompassing many different things. So it's sharpness, and if it
Yeah.
thinks something should be sharper, if it's something that it thinks is what your eyes are supposed to look at in the scene, then it'll, make that appear, sharper or more contrasty or something. But it also is kind of like, on the Sony, if you have the camera hooked up and you use it for like the to adjust the color, the white point or the color tone or whatever with the
Yeah.
camera in your room or whatever. It's kind of like that, except that it's not room based, it's content based.
Okay. I got you on that. And then he was talking about the AI director processing that's doing a similar thing.
Yeah, that's again, it's all bundled into the same setting. It's the same, all working together, and it's like, yeah, they show like the original shot of an episode of Game of Thrones, how it was before the grade, and then how it is after, where it's more blue and more hazy looking, because that's the feel that the director wanted for that scene.
Hmm.
So they're using color theory to try and replicate this stuff when you are in a standard or vivid or whatever type mode that's not accurate, so that you can use those modes, but supposedly get more of the feel of what the director was intending. But again, if you care about that, just put it in filmmaker mode.
Right. So if you let's say you do have it in the filmmaker mode, can you engage something like this and it'll keep like the AI director mode? Like if you keep
Uh,
it, will
I
it keep the
don't
like the
know
white
if
balance and
I
everything?
think, yeah, I'm not sure if the AI Picture Pro is able to be turned on in Filmmaker or not. I don't think it is. But I mean, if you're in cinema, I'm pretty sure you can, or if you're in cinema home, you can. So
Right. I guess like the biggest question is like I wouldn't want it to alter the actual like color temperature. Like I would want to keep it in the warm, you know. I wouldn't want it to all of a sudden
Well,
go
it
cool out of
doesn't do
nowhere.
it like it's not really changing the color temperature, it's changing just the color tone of the whole image. So like if it then went, from the sunset that it was turning more warm to there's people on a boat and with lots of water where it was more blue, nice blue sky, and where the other TVs were kind of like washing out a little bit in that scene, it made everything more blue looking and more cool. So it
Okay,
works both ways.
cool. So it might be something I can uh tweak in there as for my own personal use case. But yeah, no, that's all great information. Um anything about Dolby Vision filmmaker mode that you took away that was like other than the tone
Basically, just
mapping being
take
off?
Dolby Vision Cinema and change the name to Filmmaker. Done.
So that's it really. It's not doing anything
Yeah,
special
there is
or
no more cinema mode. They removed cinema. It's now Filmmaker. So either they just changed the text so that it says Filmmaker, or they deleted cinema and added Filmmaker. But it's the same thing because cinema always had the motion stuff turned off anyway. It was
right.
always basically a Filmmaker mode for Dolby. It just now has the label for it. That's all.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks. Thanks for that information. I think that's all the
Mhm.
questions that I got. Let me look through chat and see. Not trying to take off too
I
much
guess
of
the
your
only
time, but
I guess the only benefit for that would be is like the toggle where it's filmmaker mode detection, where it'll automatically switch to filmmaker if you have a movie that has that function.
hmm
So I guess it probably should work with that. That would be like the only benefit I can see.
okay. Yeah, that's great. Um, let's see if there's anything in chat. Is there any takeaways while I look through chat like that kind of you didn't really expect? Like anything that you saw that you didn't expect to see other than the game mode changes and the tone
Oh, the
mapping?
tone mapping thing was cool.
Yeah.
The what I talked about beforehand though is the 97. It does seem like even though the 97 doesn't have like a hardware change, like there's no MLA on the 97, um, the increase in power consumption, like it is hinting that the 97 is going to get a jump,
hmm
um, maybe to like 1,000 nits or somewhere. So for the people who have the 25 grand to spend on something like that, there's a upgrade to it.
Yeah.
Um, 83 should be the 83 that they had was a like non-final one.
Okay.
So there really wasn't too much to look at with it, other than it was bright and kind of what you just expect. So, but as far as I know, 83 should perform exactly like the smaller ones.
Okay, and we got a question from High Def News. He's asking about the shadow detail on the G4. He said some reviewers said it crushed blacks more than the G3.
No, the opposite.
Okay.
I went through tons of um, patterns, Spears and Munzel stuff, uh, actual movies and whatnot. G3 had, I wouldn't say significantly more crushing, but decent amount more crushing than the G4.
Yeah.
The A95L is definitely lifted, very notably so.
hmm
A95L has the desaturation near black. G4 doesn't have that. I would say the G4 is pretty close to the Samsung for shadow range. Maybe the Samsung's a little bit more lifted.
Yeah.
There's maybe a little bit of crushing on the G4, but it's not nearly as much as it was on the G3, at least for the ones that were there. Um, and I hit the reset button on them and whatnot. There was no calibration done or anything. So
That's good. Yeah, no, that's cool to hear. So improvements in shadow detail is a good thing. Cause yeah, I mean, like if you compare it to the S95C, you're right. You kind of have to bump that down because it is showing a little bit too bright on the shadows.
um, yeah, and then I didn't have any content specifically for looking at chrominance overshoot with me,
Okay.
but I was told that was solved this year. So I'll have
Yeah,
to test it, but
yeah, that's interesting. I remember Vincent was saying that was something that they did with the MLA 2.0 panel that they put in there. And so like
all right. Well,
can you
so
can
the
you like
MLA is not a
right.
panel.
That's what I was
That's the
gonna say.
thing.
It's not
Like
a panel. It's
it's
the
a
enhancement.
slightly like redesigned layout of the lens, right? But that has nothing to do with the actual panel. There could just be an overhaul to the actual panel itself.
Right.
But the MLA is just literally a layer of little lenses on it.
Yep. Correct. Um. So what do we call it? Do we call it the meta panel? Like what should we call it? Just call it.
I don't care. It's a G4.
Yeah, it's a G4 panel, I guess. We'll just call it that. Um. But
I
you're
mean,
right on that. Thank you for clarifying that. Um. I have pointed that out before that it's not actually a panel technology. It's just helping the
it's an
panel.
add-on. It's just like the heatsink. The heatsink isn't
Yeah,
the panel.
right. And this has been on LCD TVs in the past, right? Or monitors at least. That
Yeah.
technology. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we know what TVs it was used on?
Well, no, it was on the Apple Pro display.
Oh, okay. So it was just on the XDR.
And then I think there was something else, but that one for sure.
Yeah. What about screen uniformity? Did you notice any improvements with screen uniformity for the G4?
So when it comes to vertical banding, it's too hard to tell because it's just a couple samples.
Yeah.
Um, when it comes to the color shifting, there was a good moderate improvement over the G3, which is something I particularly was hoping for. So I was happy to see that.
Yeah. That's good. I would say that's probably the biggest takeaway that I had when I had like the S95C versus the G3 last year. It's like when it came down to uniformity, the S95C just absolutely crushed it. So I hope it's closer this year.
Yeah, I mean, I personally I would expect the vertical banding to be kind of on average around the same, which
Yeah.
it's not going to be on average as good as a QD OLED, but it should be on average better than they used to be, which should be fine for most. It was really the color shifting that bugged me the most. And again, it's not completely fixed, but it's definitely a lot better.
Yeah.
And again, that's also only seeing a couple of them.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So it looks like there's not many questions left. So yeah, man, thank you. I appreciate you doing all that information and stuff. What's the first TV you think you're gonna pick up?
Oh, the G4. I I'll should be able to find out in the next couple days when I get it, but
Awesome.
should be soon.
Sweet, sweet.
Yeah.
Cool. Can't wait for that. Um,
Yeah.
definitely gonna keep
And
my
then now
eyes
that I've
peeled.
said that, watch Best Buy warehouse near me. Like, oh, here's an S95D or something just popping up tomorrow.
Hey, man, that would be pretty good timing, right? Like, I mean, you just grab them both.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I'm home, so I'm
Cool.
gonna hop off here.
Good
But
timing. All right,
uh,
man. Thank you.
yeah, I'll try to get a couple of G4 videos out this weekend.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for joining, man. Take it easy.
Yep. See ya.
Later. All right. Awesome. So there, that was Classy Tech Calibrations. You can check him out on YouTube. Awesome channel. We watched his short earlier as well. And so that's just really great stuff. Thank you again to Classy for being on here. And then let me look through and see if I got any direct messages with questions. And if you guys have any questions, leave them in the chat right now. We do have a super chat though from AB. He says, I assume the next Sony TV will be A95M. Do you think they will be shipping it with a Bravia cam? Will it be an excuse for them to charge the Sony tax? Um, I don't know anything about what Sony's gonna do in terms of their lineup. I doubt they have a QD OLED this year though, so you don't have to worry about the Bravia cam this year with the QD OLED. But they might put the Bravia cam with the new mini LED. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. So if you want to keep up the Bravia cam talk, then mini LED might be your next purchase if you really like your Bravia cams. I'm wondering like if there's just somebody who buys a Sony TV every year and they just have like a collection of Bravia cams sitting on their shelf. Um, that'd be pretty interesting. But thank you for that super chat, AB. Let's see. I feel like we've got most of those questions that people were asking Classy. I didn't see this one. This one came in late. SD, sorry, I missed your question to Classy, but he might be in the chat somewhere lurking. So if he is, he'd be able to answer this question here. Does the 83-inch G4 come with the zero gap wall mount? I don't know if it's a zero gap wall mount. Is that what it usually comes with? But it does come with a wall mount, instead of the stand. So let me catch up with questions here, and see exactly what people are saying. So yeah, if you guys have any of those questions, let me know. Again, I'm just going to be looking through here and seeing what I find. I don't see any questions on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. Let me scroll through chat. A lot of good information though today. Hope you guys are enjoying, everything that Classy said and just pretty much all the talk. So here's a spoiler alert. I will be getting a TV tomorrow. That's all you're getting. What type in the chat what TVs you want me to review right away? Like what should I prioritize for reviews? Let me know. I want to see if there's anything off the wall that pops up. So yeah, just type in the TV that you want me to review in the chat right now. If you guys are still watching. Not that you guys have this like up and you're just like not paying attention, which is cool. Gets me views. But yeah, no, I just want to know what you guys want me to review first. What do I have to prioritize? And we'll go from there. So I saw the G4 in person and it's pretty bright. It's very similar to the G3. The G3 does match up with the A95L quite well. The biggest kind of takeaway is though is processing, and so the G4 got better processing this year. We'll really have to get it in our hands to really judge the G4's processing though. We really need to. G4 priorities that please. Prioritize that please. Yeah, I mean absolutely. We will do that. I am putting in an order for Chick-fil-A right now. While I'm going through chat also. I'm very hungry. I haven't eaten all day, guys. I don't know. And I haven't had Chick-fil-A in a very long time. So can't wait for that. Can't wait for that. 65-inch C3 or S90C for 3,000. I would definitely go with the S90C on that one. But thing, yeah, that's it's pretty expensive. Tax is crazy. For sure where you're at. Spicy chicken sandwich. Actually, I'm gonna go mild today because last time I had spicy chicken sandwich, it was very spicy. Like I don't know what they did with the spices, but sometimes it's not that spicy, and then sometimes it's too spicy. Anybody feel that with the spicy chicken sandwiches from Chick-fil-A? It feels like sometimes they just put on way too much spice. Um, so I hope they don't this time. Yeah. So there's that. Um, All right. Hold up. Little Caesars Crazy Puffs. What are those? I'm not a big Little Caesars fan, but that just sounds good. Um, yeah, is that like crazy bread, but like little puffs? Closed on Sundays. Yeah, good thing it's not Sunday, right? Yeah. So the BFI 120 hertz is actually kind of an interesting thing. I don't think they're ever gonna bring it back. Um, I have it here on the C1, and it's like one of the reasons why I might not even get rid of the C1 because like I always have that to fall back on. And I'm wondering, like, is that gonna be a collector's item one day? Everybody who wants the 120 hertz BFI, it's pretty good for retro gaming. Like, so if you are ever wondering, like, how can you get a 120 hertz C1? You know, contact me in like 5 years. I still might have it. You never know. You never know. Um, let's see. I think we got that taken care of. Yeah, we're good there. All right, so now that order's put in, I can read all of chat. Sorry about that, guys. I was reading chat and trying to order this. It's very, very distracting. But let's get to that. So I'm from the future. Z99 is banging. Z99, that would have to be what, like a 12K TV? Don't get duped by fake OLEDs with white subpixels. I mean, WOLED still looks pretty good. It's just the only thing that is lacking is the color brightness, really. And MLA is addressing that a little bit. It's not, you know, it's not that bad. Like, that's the thing. It's like the G3 and the S95C were very close, very close. And it was really only certain scenes that could stretch that color brightness and where you can see a difference. That's a good question to ask Classy if there's like any difference between the G3 and G4 with color. I don't think that's something he can answer unless he has the G3 and G4 next to each other. So maybe that's something we can make happen. Getty G Man says, "Can you review the S89C?" I'm probably not going to review it, and thank you for the super chat. So I appreciate that. But the review for S89C at this point wouldn't make sense for me because the S89C is pretty much a S90C, and we've reviewed that on the channel, and I've did comparisons to that on this channel. So, you know, you look at the S89C, and if you want reviews on that, you just go to a S90C. Classy has an S89C, and he's kind of like in the same mindset, like where he might not even review it, but he probably will have a video on it. So stay tuned to his channel. Because I know he has the S89C. I'm not sure if he's gonna do a ton of content on it though. That's a huge signing. Tyron Smith to the Jets. Wow. Big signing. Um, let's see. So again, if you didn't already, in chat, type the TV that you want me to review. You could type multiple TVs. Like if there's a TV that you're like, hey, you didn't review this last year, review it this year. I'm gonna do way more TVs this year. Like I'm even gonna do some entry level stuff this year. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. Z9D. QNED 90, sorry, not QNED, QNED 90 G4 and QN 900D 8K. All right, duly noted. Got that in my head. G4 is like the overwhelming vote right now. And let me tell you right now, I'm already prioritizing the G4, the S95D, the S90D, like those are all like super priorities. The S95D, the S90D, those might be a little bit later, but I don't know exactly the timetable on all of that yet. But the G4, as soon as I can get it in my hands, I'm going to get it, and then hopefully hold on to it to be able to get it compared to the S95D and the S90D. And we got to find a way to get another A95L to compare. Um, that might be a little bit of a troublesome task, but we'll try. We'll work on it. Um, I still have the S95B. I love it. I know there was a question earlier about the S95D or B. Um, yeah, here it is. So the S95B did look better than the C2. It absolutely did. The C2 did look like it had more contrast and brighter highlights. That's interesting. Like I didn't see the more contrast and brighter highlights thing, but what you could be seeing is something we alluded to earlier when I was talking to Classy is like on certain scenes in HDR, like Samsung will show a little bit more highlight detail. And so other TVs might clip that same exact detail. And it all comes down to the way that it tone maps and what mastering display luminance it uses. So that might be why. I mean, that might be why you feel that way. I've heard this before, where people are like, you know, the Samsung just isn't as bright with the highlights as say the A80L, for example. This is interesting takeaways that people have. For reasons that like I said, that conversation that I had with Classy, pretty much will detail that. So, what's your feelings on the QNED 90? I posted this in a poll earlier. The QNED 90 is one of those ones where it's like I have to review it, so it's gonna have to be reviewed eventually. So why not now, right? So the QNED 90 is one of the first TVs I'll review. I'll tell you that right now. And I'll be comparing it to the U8K. And if you guys want, only if you guys want, I'll compare it to the Q90T as well. From 4 years ago? Is it 4 years now? Let me know. Let me know. Um, which one has the VA panel? So apparently the QNED 90 has the VA panel, which is one of the reasons why I want to pick it up, because it gives people an option. Like, let's say the QN90D is once again ADS. Maybe there's people out there that don't like ADS because you do sort of get deeper contrast when you're looking at it straight on for VA. So maybe people want VA. So I got to compare it to the QN90D. So I got to get the QNED 90 and see. Exactly. Will it compete with the QN90D? The thing is, it's not going to be priced the same, I don't believe. The way that LG priced it is pricing it closer to where I would see like the QN85 series. So I'm curious to see like if the QN85 is more the match for a QN90. So if I get the QN80 90, do you guys want me to do a live stream for that TV where I go through everything on that TV? We have a 4K stream and we have the camera on the TV. Like, would you guys want that? Actually, that's the wrong one. Let's go through this one again. KFC. So I just saw this one. Did anybody have that yet? The KFC pizza. I saw that and I was like, "What is this? What is this?" Um, yeah, it's not something I don't think I'll order. Maybe we'll see. S95D looking for one connect dropout results. That's not a bad idea. I do have a new gaming laptop that I can definitely test that out on. So I did pick up a gaming laptop so I can test all these TVs compatibility with the PC. Excited about adding that. Which overall is better, QD OLED versus W OLED? Well, that's a good question. I would say QD OLED is definitely better. Um, and this is maybe more of a subjective opinion here, but I think a lot of people feel this way. QD OLED has so many different advantages. Not only the brightness is better on QD OLED, but the color brightness is better on QD OLED. You also have better uniformity for the most part. Like, there's just so many benefits over W OLED that I would always pick QD OLED over W OLED right now. And I think that's one of the reasons why we see Sony make the QD OLED their master series, because it is superior. It is the best OLED technology out there right now. Um, and so I think if Sony is picking that for their Master Series, they they think it's the best. A lot of people saying QN900D. All right. Uh, KG, have you seen the Sony Mini LED prototype? I did. I got the chance to check out the Mini LED prototype when I was at CES. I got it 30 minutes, 45-minute tour of the whole entire system, and I got to see the backlight technology at work. It was really cool, and I'm very excited about it. I got to see it next to a QD OLED as well, and there were scenes where the mini LED actually did outperform the QD OLED, but there's still scenes that the QD OLED's gonna be better in overall. Contrast is just something that you can't really beat with mini LED, but there's a lot of pluses to this mini LED system. And that is why I'm still interested in mini LED, because there is some pros to go along with mini LED. I'm not totally off the mini LED bandwagon for sure. I am still a big fan of mini LED. But just because I'm a big fan of mini LED doesn't mean that I recognize that QD OLED right now is better technology. It's just a better TV overall. So I'm really hoping the new mini LEDs step it up this year and kind of give people some more competition in that area. S90D brightness will be capped hard. Go with last year's model. I mean, I don't know if that's true. Is there any? Is that you just speculating on that? I don't. I haven't heard anything based on the S90D's brightness, but I'd imagine that that is not going to be the case. If it is the case, then that means that maybe they are using a WOLED panel, but I doubt it. Like, I'm gonna believe that when I see it. And SD, this is totally different than what Samsung has been doing this year. So far, their marketing and everything that I've heard from them, they really, really are pushing the S95D as their flagship. They're happy with it. They like it a lot. The QN900D is their true flagship because it is 8K, and that's something that they are always going to push. But I think they have three flagships this year: the QN900D, the QN95D. Though that's going to be more of like a boutique thing. So you could say the QN90D is also a flagship technically. And then also the did I say the S95D yet? Or so it's the S95D, the QN900D, the QN90D slash QN95D, and I think that's their three main TVs. Flagship is one of those things, and you didn't even say flagship; you said top shelf. But no, they're definitely not to that degree. They're still kind of really making a big push for OLED TVs. And you'll see that. Their marketing, you'll see that. Yeah, so that's an interesting point, high def, about the QNED90T. It's starting lower than the QN85D. So that, you know, I haven't seen the QN85D's pricing, but if it is true, like you're saying, then that's pretty interesting. And that makes me kind of wonder about like where LG thinks of it in its lineup performance wise. And so that's why it's going to be a really good comparison to do against something like a QN85D. Hopefully I can get my hands on one, or the QN90D. Of course, the U8K. I think the U8K is going to be an awesome comparison to make with it. 1K by Black Friday. I don't think that's too far off. I think that's definitely possible. Um, what video are you playing in the background? I have no idea. I really don't know. I was just throwing on like screensavers and stuff. Um, we'll find out. All right. Any last second questions? I think I got both of the super chats. Yep, AB and Getty Man. Thank you again for your super chats. If you guys have any last minute questions, I'm gonna be going for about 5 or 10 more minutes. And then we'll wrap this thing up. It's been a pleasure so far. And you know, this year's just beginning. I'm very excited. We're about to get into some real nice content. TV season is beginning. I'm gonna have something for everybody. People who like entry level TVs, people who like mid range TVs, people who like high end TVs. I'm gonna be doing something for everybody this year because I think it's not fair to the people who just have a certain budget to like exclude them from content. And I've gotten requests, so many requests to do certain TVs over the years, and I'm gonna be listening to that this year. And I'm trying to check out as many TVs as I possibly can and judging them correctly too. Like, I'm not gonna be picking up an entry level TV and being like, oh, it's not OLED, it's trash. I'm not gonna do that. I promise you. I'm going to look at it in the area of where it's priced, what it does, what's the use case, why people would be buying it. Um, for people who are just getting into TVs for the first time, because it's important to have that available for them as well. So I hope you do appreciate all the effort that I'm putting into the channel this year. I'm trying to grow every year. That's always been the goal, and I think this year is going to be a major step in the right direction. Um, and I hope you guys are just feeling the same way. Because I just love this whole entire thing that we're doing. I love the community that we have around the TV space. It's always fun to talk to you guys and chat. I could sit on here for hours and hours a day. I'm not going to, but I could. I don't want you guys to get sick of me, but we'll be doing more live streams. It's going to be awesome. And if you guys want the QNED 90 to work, then if you guys want a live stream of the QNED 90, you gotta let me know, and I'll make that happen. And then Austin T, thank you for the super chat. He said, I want to shout out for your stream quality. I remember you changed your OBS platform. It looks great. Yeah, I'm using a platform called Ecamm Live, and it is amazing. FOMO uses the same thing, and I'm so glad he put me onto it because it is such a great platform. And it's worth every penny. It's worth every penny. So thank you. 110-inch Hisense UX. I don't think that's a realistic review for my channel. I don't even know if I could fit 110-inch Hisense. But hey, if they want to send me one for review, I would gladly review it. As long as they help me unbox it and do the crate thing. But that is like the only way I could do it. Is Hisense reached out to me and was like, "Hey, we'll lend this to you for a review. You could say whatever you want about it. You could be as critical as you want about it. Then I'll take it. And then I'll send it back afterwards." If they're cool with that, then I'll do it. But that's the only way. Because I'm not buying that TV. It's definitely gonna be tough. I appreciate all the positive feedback you guys are giving. That's awesome. All this stuff is really motivating to me, and it really is. It gets me right deep down inside. I mean that, like, life has been, a challenging thing for many different reasons along the lines, and finding this has given me just a new outlook on life. So, like, finding this whole entire thing that we're doing here, this channel is really been amazing for me. So, like, I'm kind of, it just kind of gets me when I think about it. But I absolutely love this, and I can't wait to get all the TVs this year to you guys. It's gonna be great. Um, yeah, upgrade your health insurance before unboxing that one. That's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea. I'll be the first one to have a TV fall on them, and that would be terrible. Let's hope that never happens to anybody, by the way. That's just terrible. I don't even want to put that in the universe. TVs are getting so big where that is definitely a possibility now. And so I hope that doesn't happen. Interesting. I just got a message from the DoorDasher. Said that I'm headed to you now, but the car is not moving on the app. So that's cool. Just sit there with the food. Why not? Let's see if yeah, so like that's just an update on the Chick-fil-A. The DoorDash is slacking, you're right. I don't know what's going on with that. Maybe there's traffic. It's possible. Saw some of the light bleed on the top of the Q&ED90T. It's not a great sign. That's not a great sign. You guys ever notice, like, some of the LED TVs, when you turn it on for the very first time, it has like the weirdest, like, it shows all the flaws of the TV. And then when you put it on actual content, the local dimming is like, we got you, fam, don't worry. But like when you start up the TV, it's definitely like you see all the flaws. Like when it's on that Hisense screen, or when it's on that Sony screen, or when it's on that Samsung screen, it's like, oh, whoa, okay, I see some things going on with your backlight here. How much do you tip? I usually tip like 15%. Q&ED90 live stream? Yes. Okay, I'll make that happen. We could do that. So even if you guys aren't interested in the Q&ED90 content, all I ask is like you watch the content at least, maybe a little bit, just to kind of show it some support, because I know it's going to be one of those TVs that's probably not as popular as the higher end models that I do, and that goes for every TV. Like if you guys do have the time to watch some of those videos, I'd appreciate it if you do, because I'm just going to try to bring a different perspective to all of the reviews to make sure that they're all the right type of reviews for those TVs. Because I recognize also that people get TVs for bedrooms, for example, and people want reviews for those too. Getting a TV for my bedroom, I lay 9.5 feet away, but all websites say 9.5 feet. Calls for 50. Whoa, no. You definitely want something a little bit bigger if you're 9.5 feet away. But I do recognize that it's a bedroom TV too, though, so maybe you don't want something super bright in that case. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I will wrap this up now. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I appreciate you so much. You guys are always amazing. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. I'll have a Q&ED90 stream later on this week, hopefully. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.